Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I got something really neat to take a look at today. This is a retro handheld gaming console emulator. That's a mouthful, I know, but that's what it does. This is the Blackhawk X20. Now it goes under another name on Banggood. I have a goofy name, but they don't actually have that listed here, and I'm afraid I may not say it right by memory, but it's the title of this video. But Blackhawk is what the box says. And as you can see, it's a 3001 game. Now that's the internal storage version. If you buy the one with the extra SD card like this one comes with, then it, I think, was like 7,000 games in one. And this is just really neat. This will emulate all of your classic video gaming, home video gaming systems that we had in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, and some handhelds as well, and your arcade games. And when we used to go to arcades, this will also emulate those. So it will emulate your Nintendo, your Super Nintendo, your Sega Genesis, and it will emulate those arcade games using an emulator called MAME, and it will also emulate your Game Boy Advance, and your Game Boy Color. So those are the systems that this will emulate. So as you can see, it has a TF card expansion. Like I said, this is the one with that 32 gig card. On top of the 16 gigabytes internal storage, gives you a total combined storage of 48 gigabytes. You can connect this to a TV. You can do hand-to-hand combat by using two external controllers via USB, which I'll explain shortly. You get your double rockers, it shows here, with your double thumb pad joysticks, and it can also play video. Here on the back, it shows you some more diagrams and layouts and the internal storage, and everything that I pretty much just explained. So that is everything for the box. Before we start looking more closely at the handheld system, let's just look at the few accessories that does come with it. You get a USB-C charging cable, which I'll show you in a moment where that plugs in to charge up the handheld system. You get a video output, so you got its RCA plugs here. You got your red and your white for your left and right audio, and your yellow here is your video. This goes to a TV, but this is going to be something, if you have a brand new or newer TV, you may not have these RCA plugs, so you may need a HDMI to RCA plug converter to actually use this on a big TV. And they give you some cheap earphones here that you can use to listen to your games while you play it. So then they give you an instruction manual here. As you can see, this instruction manual is very, very, very little. Just really, really hard to see. So it's going to be hard to actually read this, which is another reason why it's important to make this video. And then they give you this little reminder sheet that explains about the reset button, which I'll show you in a moment, because it is recessed a bit and it's kind of hard to see that reset button on the top. So let's take a closer look at the console, handheld console, and then we'll fire it up and let you guys see how it emulates some games and some of the games included. And again, there's so much on here, it's been difficult to show you guys everything, but I'll show you as much as I can to make this video reasonable and not too long. Now, there's a lot of glare. This is a 7-inch diagonally measured screen. It says it's HD, but they don't give you any information on the screen resolution, either in the instruction manual or the Banggood listing. So I don't know, I can't tell you. HD would imply that it has at least 720p ability, so we'll assume that it does. Now there's some fingerprints here. I've been messing around with this. I apologize, it's a bit smudged looking here in the video, but you've got your A, B, X, Y buttons here, like your traditional controllers you had, like the PlayStation and stuff would have as well. But one thing to keep in mind is sometimes the game will say press A and they actually say press B, so you have to do a little playing around. They may not correlate properly to the buttons that are labeled on the system. You've got your rockers here, so these are your little thumb joysticks. You have a select and a start button, and you do need to use the select and start button in conjunction with the A and B to navigate the menus of the games, depending on which system it is, of course, you're emulating. These are your volume controls, volume up and down. This is your old school D-pad, like the old Nintendo and Super Nintendo used. So you can use that with the games if you're more comfortable. Some games you may not feel comfortable using the thumb pads. And then you've got your R and L up here on the top, your top bumpers, which some of the games use. Now, you know, the right thumb pad is a little lower here than the left, so it's a little bit, when you hold it, you have to kind of have your hand down. It's a little less grip, so you know, it'd be nice if they were both at the same level. So that's a little awkward to me. It's not prevented any problem playing a game, but it does feel a little odd having it lower than the left one. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And then let's take a look at the top here and what these different inputs are and outputs that are on the top. So let's make sure this is focused in properly. And they did label them here. So as you can see, these two here where my thumbs are your USB-A, your full-size USB, traditional USB plugs. This would be to plug in external USB controllers, like you saw on the back of the box. You could plug in a USB controller, and two people then could play a game together, since the controls on this is just for one person. Then you have a little mic here, and then your on and off toggle switch to turn the power on and off. This right here is for your headphones, and also the video out, I believe, as well. Video audio out. This is your TF card, your micro USB slot. The little white you see there is a sticker over this, and I just couldn't get all the residue off, but everything's fine. The card pops out of there. It's just one of those spring-loaded ones, and this comes with a little 32 gig micro SD card in there, and that is preloaded with thousands of more games on top of the internal 16 gig. We can see the sticker there. This is your USB-C charging port to charge the internal battery. I believe the internal battery on this was 5400 milliamp, I believe. I will try to double check that and put up a text if I'm wrong. I'm going by memory there. So I'm sure it's a lithium ion or LiPo pack in there. And then here is that little reset button. You would press in if the game would lock up, and that's what they're telling you in that little reminder sheet I showed you a while ago. So yeah, that's you know, that's a helpful feature if you would have something go wrong, because sometimes these can lock up. I've never had that problem, so it shouldn't be a big deal, but you never know when it could do that. And here is a little video camera, which I'll try to demonstrate here in a moment. You can use this to take photos and video. It says 10 megapixel here. I think the Banggood listing says it's 30 megapixel. Either way, don't expect much from this. I'm not sure what resolution it films. Probably going to be 720p. But, you know, again, that would be just something you'd use if it's all you had. You're better off using your cell phone camera than this built-in camera. So let's go ahead and let's turn this on, and then let you guys see how this all works. And we'll try to emulate a few games before we conclude this review. So we're just going to slide the little toggle here. Now again, that reflection, you're seeing my phone and my face and everything in the background, because it's really a high glossy screen. So do be mindful that in the sun and stuff, you're going to have a lot of glare. If you're playing this in a vehicle or a car with the windows, the sun coming in, that could be a problem at times. So here is the main screen. You saw the intro there, Street Fighter type graphics as it comes up. You've got your sound over here. And let's make sure we got everything focused in so you guys can clearly see the menus. Over here is your sound. Here's your battery power. You can see I have a full battery. And along the bottom here we have movie, music, ebook, tools, setting, and then your emulators, which I'll discuss in a moment. So let's go down. You can hear the menu sounds. I'm not going to look at the movie or music. It'll just allows you to access the movie and music player. But we'll click on one just to see real quick. This is music, and then it lets you navigate to a folder to play a music file. Movie's going to be the same thing. Ebook will let you navigate to probably a PDF or something along that, to whatever ebook format is. Your tools and your setting. If you go to setting, you're going to see here you've got your output. And that's LCD right now for the built-in screen. You can go up to a level 16 brightness, so you can navigate to that, go down, navigate to it too. You can set level 1 would be the lowest. So the lower level you set the brightness, the less bright it is, but that's going to give you longer battery life, because the brighter the screen is, which I got it all the way up for this review, the shorter the battery life. Now, I've not played this long enough to actually drain it, so I can't tell you the battery life, but I can tell you that I played for a while and I've not even lost any battery off the meter, so it seems to have pretty good battery life. You got a contrast in your saturation if you want to adjust that for the screen. And then again, you got your music player, like that shows you the, I guess, the background image or something for it. Your photo, like the 5-second sequence, I guess that's some photo scrolling mode or something like that. Your movie settings, your folder navigator, and some of your system settings there. So B takes you back out. Now we can go to the tools, and it's a bit similar. The tools, it has some photo in your camera, your file manager, and then it allows you to record. So if you go to, I believe that's an audio recorder for the mic. If I go to the camera, we'll actually be able to see here. In a moment, it takes a moment to load it up. You can see there's some lines showing up there. But this actually lets you, here's my hand, and you can see that's not very good quality. So don't expect much from this video camera. So B will exit you back out. So don't use that unless that's all you got. And let's look at the emulators. So the first one on the far top left is MAME, and that one allows you to emulate your arcade games. That will be a lot of the games that you only could play back in the day at the arcade. Some of those games were available on your home game consoles. I'm having trouble saying that today. Your home game consoles did have some of the same games, but there's many games that were exclusive to the arcade. So it lets you emulate those. We'll just go through all these, and then we'll go through and play some games from a couple of these. So you got MAME. Your FC is your Famicom. That was your regular NES, the very original Nintendo. Let's try to we got a bit of glare here from the light, so I'm going to try to move this back. We don't want to get too much glare on the screen. That's your NES. This is your GBA, is your Game Boy Advance. Classic is a folder that has all, and I'll show you that now, has groups of all your classic games. 300 classic Invincible collection. You've got like Adventure Series, baseball games, Batman, Captain Hook, all your Castlevania games down here, Final Fantasy, Pokemon, just different popular series of games, and also genres like Tank, here's Transformers. So different genres and or different specific series of games. Then the bottom left we have SFC. That's your Super Famicom. That's your SNES or your Super Nintendo. So that's the 16-bit, the a little more powerful system that came out in the early 90s. I think it was around 91. So a lot of great games were released for that. MD is your Mega Drive. That is this European, Japanese name for the Sega Genesis, which was sort of the competing console with the Super Nintendo. So it's just called MD for Mega Drive. GB is your Game Boy. GBC is your Game Boy Color. And the other lets you access whatever you got saved on your micro SD card or your TF card, which again, this one comes preloaded with games on the micro SD card and the internal storage to give you, like they advertise, 7,000 games. Just be mindful when you're navigating all these folders on the SD card that some of these games can be a bit goofy named. They don't have the exact correct name. Some of them is English translation. So if you run across a weird game like Obese, it's talking about a game that had fat in the title. I forget which one it was, Fatality or something like that. and they thought it meant, they took the fat part and said it was called Obese. So that was pretty funny. So let's go look at MAME here. Now some of these games, like I said, the A and B can get swapped, but you'll use A for your main navigation. And then you can go through here and play a game that was from the arcade, or the Neo Geo is, a lot of the SNK games were on the arcade, like the Punisher. There's just a whole bunch of games in here. I'm just going to navigate through, look for something that might be cool to play. And again, some of these are going to be named a little bit goofy. So they might be a game but they don't have it named right, like this one, Obesity. Let's see what Obesity is. Fatal Fury, right? It says Fat Fury. So somebody named it Obesity. That's what I was getting at when I said obese. So it comes with the Neo Geo, the SNK. And then you have to navigate with A, B, or the start. So there's a Fatal Fury, insert coin, because this is an arcade game. This is not a home console game. So let's press start. It says press A button. It may be B. Sometimes the A and B gets a bit swapped in a lot of these games. Now here, let's see. A worked. We should be able to fight here. I'm not going to be any good at this, so. This seems to emulate pretty good. From my experience, most of these games emulate pretty good. But they can sometimes run a little slow, and sometimes the sound can be a bit goofy. But so far, I've not had anything that was unplayable, except for a few instances where the game actually didn't play at all. But once it emulated, it was okay. The worst I saw was the, I think it was one of the Game Boy versions of Tony Hawk did not emulate particularly well. So to get out of a game, you press the select button. Then you've got in your menu here your return to the game. You can save the game, so you can pick up whatever level you were at. You can load that game back into start up where you left off and exit. So we'll go to exit. Then you use B to navigate back. So let's go back, and now we got Famicom, you got NES. We could play Contra on that. So we got Game Boy Advance, and then the Mega Drive. So let's look at the original Nintendo and see if we can find. I believe Contra was on the preloaded. I thought it was in the preloaded games, and I may have just flew right past it. Yeah, there's Double Dragon. Let's try Double Dragon. So again, some of the games are on the built-in and some are the SD cards, so you got to remember where one is and where the other is. So you saw in the thumbnail for this video that I had Contra up. Contra is included. So let's see. Will B start the game? A. This may be one of the games where I couldn't get into the menu. So let's try that one right there. I couldn't get it to load. Let's try Double Dragon 2. Because typically you're going to press start or the A or B button. Now this is all, as you can see, in Japanese. But there we go. We're playing Double Dragon 2. I remember playing this. I think I was doing the wrong buttons there. Not me very good at it because I haven't played this in 30 years. Alright guys, so that's Double Dragon 2. Again, Double Dragon 1 I have trouble getting to load, but you could try to find an English version of that ROM online, and you should be able to, probably get that one to work. That's a pretty basic game. And let's look at, like, instead of Super Nintendo, let's look at the Sega Genesis and see what we find here. We got some Alien. It says Metroid. I'm not sure what's up with that. Metroid's a Nintendo game. So I don't think, see, it says Sega. And let's see what this is. I can't imagine this is Metroid because that was a Nintendo game. Nintendo's not going to license that to Sega. But maybe there's something I'm unaware of. Mega Turrican. I've never heard of that one. Again, there's so many games on here, guys. That's 1994. So just a ton of Mega Drive games. As you can see, they all. Let's see if we can go back and do that. Let's do Alien. I apologize. You got to look at my ugly mug and the reflection, but the screen is so reflective. Let's see the Alien hatching out here. Alien 3, that says. Let's see, press start. There we go. Pretty cool. I'm not going to play the game, just get you guys see that it does load it up and appears to work fine. So those are the Sega Genesis games. Before we wrap this up, let's go over and show you guys. I can see that we got the Game Boy. Let's look at the Game Boy Advance. We'll just look at some of the games that are preloaded. We're not going to play a game here. We're going to show you what's on the SD card, how that works. And then we'll wrap this up. Just tons of games. It's just an unreal amount if you get the one with the SD card. There's a Pitfall, Earthworm Jim. Let's press that real quick. That's one I've heard of. I wasn't going to, but I think I will. You hear the music. The music's okay. It's, you know, these games didn't have great sound anyway. They were, I don't think they were even stereo back years ago. They might have been, but there's Earthworm Jim. That's what it says. Is there we go. Yeah, that's Earthworm Jim. That seems to emulate pretty good. That seems real good, guys. If you're someone who's my age, I'm 50. You know, I was just out of high school at the time. We played all these games back in the day. So, you know, if you're someone who's over 40, you know, you're going to remember all these games for certain. And let's take a look at the other over here. And you can see, I'll just show you the layout. You've got the Famicom and the Game Boy, and they get them in folders. And when you get inside of them, you got subfolders on some of these. Now this one here, I don't think does. You can see a bunch of Mario, Super Mario Brothers, 4 and 2 and 3. Let's do Super Mario Brothers here. That's just going to load up the correct emulator, and there we go. So on the folder, you put them in folders. You want just to better organize your games, and then it will load the correct emulator on its end for the file extension. So there we got Super Mario Brothers, and I've already played this, and I'll tell you right now, it works just fine. It seems to emulate at the correct speed. So I'm just going to exit out of it to save us time. You can see, let's go to the Super Famicom's got all these folders, and they're like alphabetical, A through C, and C, and then part of C through, you know, E or F, something like, you know, that's how it works. So some of these will have a bunch of subfolders. So you got all the emulators on here have their own folders. If you buy the pre-loaded SD card, if you buy the slightly cheaper version without the SD card, just get yourself your own micro SD card and then load that up with games. You got to go to ROM sites on the internet, find these games. Some of them are no longer, you know, under the rights of who makes them, and they're free. Some aren't. It's sort of a gray area. So you're kind of iffy downloading that. At least if you buy this preloaded, like, hey, you didn't download it, you bought it that way, so it's sort of out of your hands at that point. Just keep that in mind. But I would recommend spending a little bit more money. This was around $70, I believe. I don't remember if that was with or without the SD card, but it's in that price range. I'll include a purchase link to this down in the video description. So be sure to check down there. If I have any coupons I would happen to have, I'll include that. This will come from Banggood. It didn't take too long for me to get it, somewhere in the 3-week period probably. But you don't have to worry about sales tax, and the shipping shouldn't be too much. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's $3-5, somewhere like that, to ship this guy all the way here, because this did come from China. So I think we covered all the emulators. You know, it has this really big screen. I think the brightness is decent. Just be mindful there's a lot of glare in the screen, and as you guys saw, just the whole body of the design, it has a lot of glare. But otherwise, it seems to emulate stuff really well in a pretty decent speed. Just be mindful, some games will emulate a little sluggish. The sound can be a little bit goofy, but I only really noticed that in the Tony Hawk Game Boy. Maybe it was a Game Boy Advance game from around 2001, I think it was, somewhere around there. Otherwise, this thing seems to work really well. But, you know, there'll be an occasional game that just won't load, and that just comes down to compatibility issues with the various emulators this is running on. This is probably a flavor of Linux or something that they're running on here. Again, I don't know the screen resolution because they don't give me that information anywhere. In terms of the processor RAM, they don't give you that either. It's going to be a little ARM type, you know, processor in there, some off-brand CPU. So, all right, guys, this was a fun review, something a little different, but I'll be doing these from time to time on my channel. If you're new to the channel though and you like this stuff, RRC stuff, then please consider subscribing. While you're at it, click the bell that notifies you every time I upload. You'll get a notification. And as always, guys, have a wonderful day.
The power of the dark side.